Action. Oh! Dead leg?
That was an example of how a director needs to be very clear.
You were professional enough not to hit like I happened to hit Bill's headbutt his knee in full force when he said headbutt. I didn't realize it was a tap. I put him on the ground on his injured knee.
It was full force headbutt, by the way. There was no pull. It was bam!
I still have a dull headache from that, but.
It was very interesting to fight someone in a clown suit. I wasn't personally afraid for my life, but I was really worried about if anyone passed through the woods, what they would think during some of the scenes.
Hi. He's here to protect you.
Oh, okay. That's good to know.
Well, I thought I was playing Hitler. I prepared for it. I studied a lot of videos. I got mannerisms and such down. And when I arrived, Bill told me that throw all that shit away. You're not going to be playing the real Hitler. You're going to be playing an alien in a clown costume, nonetheless, who is assuming his role.
I kind of operate on the stance that it's not my business what other people think, and so if any of the humor was insulting to other people, I feel like it's a problem that relates to them and not me.
Well, some of the things that I say in the movie are pretty raw or pretty racist. There's no question about that. I do have concerns about how some people might view this. However, I feel that as an actor, you are playing a role. You are not your character. Therefore, it takes considerable balls to pull something like this off.
People understand that when you're acting on camera, you're supposed to be creative, and pretty much whatever the script says, that's what you say. And I haven't ever signed a disclaimer at work saying that I can't do that, so.
I was raised on truly tasteless jokes, really raw humor. I feel that as the years have gone by, the politically correct police have just put the stranglehold on certain things. I don't know where we're gonna be in 15 years, 20 years, but right now, the current climate probably doesn't support this kind of movie. However, I think that's part of the reason why it needs to be out there.
It's acting. It's acting. I don't care. If you can't see that it's acting, then you're the idiot.
But ultimately, I really trust the director, and I feel like he's going to do a great job. And more than anything, I just want to know if I can come back sometime.
What I work in, if someone's uptight about it, then they're probably someone I don't want to work for anyway, or I don't want to know. Because if you're that uptight about creativity, this is entertainment. This isn't real life. I'm not the president of the United States running a country. I'm an actor having fun on the set.
You slowly come in, face to face. All right, goes in, study him, go closer, and kiss.
I've been lucky enough to be in several films by Bill Zebub, and I've sent out autographed headshots all over the world. People hit me up on Facebook. I run into people at shows. I mean, it's great.
Listening to WFMU, which I do quite often, I've definitely caught Professor Dum Dum's show. I had no idea it was Bill Zebub until I met him and it kind of came out. And having heard that voice, I developed my own vision of who the guy was that played him, and it was nothing like him at all. So it was really kind of funny to hear that voice while acting. It kind of threw me a couple times, and I still kind of can't believe it, haven't seen it actually. When I hear the radio show, he's still who I see in my head.
In Bill Zebub's new movie, Scienceless Fiction, I play a time traveler.
At one point, I didn't know if I was going to be in this movie because the director thought that I wouldn't be in anything that's got any racial humor. I said, no, that's not a problem. First Amendment rights, freedom of speech. I advocate your right to do whatever you want, Bill, but I'm not going to say certain things. I said, no racist stuff. So it makes me a freaking rapist. Now I got to say no racist, no rapist, okay? But I committed.
I got the role through a casting that I applied for about a year ago, and where Bill totally ignored me. And I guess he got out of New Girls and was like, hey, let's take that one, or something like that.
Did I have any reservations about doing this movie? At first I did, until I agreed with it too much. And then, yeah, a little too much truth in it. Sometimes the truth hurts. Baby.
I do believe anything can happen while acting, but there's not a shot in hell that I would ever make out with Bill Zebub.
Okay, having a kissing scene with Bill was the worst thing that ever happened in my life. I don't want to talk about it. I don't feel confident talking about it. I just want to forget about it. Can we just go to the next question?
When did I think Bill crossed the line in his movies? Hell, I've been working with him since the 90s. It was even before he had anything out on DVD. He'd already crossed that line. And then eventually he just got more exposure crossing the line and he got a big following. But yeah, I don't believe in that line. And Bill evidently doesn't either. Or he's blind and just doesn't see it because he's crossed it a lot of times.
It's pretty obvious that people are afraid of the boundaries because they're worried about the repercussions. Bill isn't.
What was my first reaction when I got the script in an email? I think I can handle myself if I almost get beat up.
Some of the stereotypes that we covered in the film today during my part were very hard for me to say, because though I believe in the idea, the blunt, club-like way of getting the message out, it made me wince a little inside. There was definitely a pucker factor involved.
One thing I really take about Bill is that he is pretty much completely unapologetic. And I mean, he's had a lot of people of different races, religions, sexual persuasions, all that stuff, and he doesn't want anyone to apologize. It sort of takes the edge off of what he's trying to do. And so Bill is completely unapologetic. He's not an evil guy. If he was, I'd tell the douchebag hit the road. Actually, he'd tell me to hit the road, but same shit. We wouldn't be working together. He's a good guy.
When I wrote the script, I did laugh a lot. And then, I went through all the things I was supposed to do and what was, I don't know, I just thought it was a lot of fun, and I kind of just wanted to be part of it, just because he was different, he wasn't like the corny type of thing you always get to see on movies, and that's the type of stuff that do make me laugh personally, so I just thought it'd be interesting to be part of it.
I am proud to be involved in any Bill Zebub production. Bill has a message. It appeals to a section of society that takes the time to listen to the words and grasp the concepts. If you just look at Bill's work and decide that it's vulgar, obscene, offensive, you miss the message.
Do I think that this movie is very ballsy? Yes.
I'll be very aerodynamic and the women's that likes me.
I think Bill is just a smartass and he just wants to be able to say fuck you all with your restrictive, way of thinking. I have to say this, I'm saying it this way. On top of that, I give you naked girls, so.
I wouldn't say in most cases that it would be necessary to really try to tell the viewer how to interpret the humor, but I mean, Bill's got some heavy stuff.
I'm a comedian by trade. That's what I do. That's my profession. That's my occupation. I am a comedian. And a lot of what Bill tries to do in his movies, for me, is what I do on stage in a different way. People only tend to hear what they want to hear in your act, and a lot of times they miss the main idea of what you're trying to get across. And what Bill's trying to do here is to be so blunt and to shock you to such an extent that you can't miss the message, that you can't misconstrue what he's trying to say. If all you hear are the words that offend you, then you're not getting the message. You need to listen. You need to think. You can't just be a passive observer. You need to use your mind to understand the concepts. And I think that's what Bill does very well in all his films. And as a comedian, that's what I try to do on stage.
Living in downtown Baltimore, I think I'm going to get killed. Except it's the liberal white boys that are scared of racism because black people think it's funny.
Okay, in America, people freak out whenever you have like a religious reference or a racial reference about things that, or about jokes. And we don't really have that in France. I mean, of course you do. Like, if you're in Germany, of course we're not gonna think it's funny to talk about Jews, and even though we have plenty of jokes about them, but I think Americans tend to like take everything a little bit too seriously. Like, come on, people, it's just to laugh, It's not because it's not funny realistically that it can't be funny on the spot, What matters is not really like what you laugh about; it's who you laugh about it with,
I never had to explain to anybody what the offensive parts of the movies were. I would give a friend a copy of the movie that I was in and just tell him watch it for what it is. Don't read into it. It's just humor. People get it.
I was in a couple of Bill's earlier flicks that I didn't really say a lot of the terrible racist stuff. Maybe a little. Stereotypes just don't disappear into thin air, and Spooked. And I would have to say my career has not suffered because of them.
The suffering is having to listen to Bill's stories and talking nonstop, like an inane drone, on and on and on. A 20-minute shoot turns into a 3-hour shoot. That's the extent of my suffering.
So the difference between working on this set compared to the other sets I did in the past was probably the amount of people with us on the set, which was great in a way. Like, it's kind of funny to have a director that's also acting with you at the same time, and still help out at the end, And I don't know, I kind of like the fact that, because there's less people, it's also more relaxed, and you don't, I don't know, I guess in a way you just don't worry about your performance as much. Don't tell him.
I would say that Bill is probably making a bit more of an effort so that, I don't want to say clueless, that sounds condescending and pompous, but people have no clue where the hell his head is at, so they have a better idea. In the past, they're just like, my God, that's horrible, how could you say that? And Bill's kind of, putting the tongue in the cheek there. That was like a blowjob, forget that.
I would warn people to hear it out. In this film, if you don't hear it out, there is no way you will not be offended. There is no way not to be hurt in your soul if you don't pay attention to the message. The message is everything.
This movie has everything. Racial jokes, jokes about Muslims, the kind of shit that gets you killed.
Part of the not being concerned about being in one of Bill's offensive movies is knowing that he's such an unknown and nobody that the chances of somebody seeing me in it that I know are slim to none. So it's not a big issue.
If you're going to judge me on my performance in this, judge me on the acting. See who I am right now. Do I appear to be a rabid racist, the kind of guy that would go out and say these terrible things in public? No. I'm a sweet boy. I'm a lovable fella. And that's what I want you to take from this interview. The vile individual you see in this film is not me. It's a character.
Showing my legs as a Roman soldier in Jesus, the Daughter of God. I've been told I had nice legs, so I had a little bit of confidence. And Bill actually told me that because he's wearing rainbow pants right now.
What kind of drinks do you have on this morning?
Yeah, I was in a corporate world, a high-ranking officer, and I just enjoyed the movies.